Many of the candidates have problem in reading. The major problem is in understanding. Even though they know the words, unfortunately, they don't know how to correlate those all. And especially when the passage is lengthy, they fumble. And not only in that case, sometimes some of the sentences could be really hard to understand, maybe because of different complex structures of grammar, maybe because of the length of the sentence, maybe because of the toughness of the passage also. Right. Here I have some tips for you to ease your reading module. But one thing, let me tell you, these tips are only for the people, those who can understand language. See, some of the students generally ask me the tips for reading, and those who don't understand, the tips. So the only tips I can provide you is going for random writing. Anyway, that is not the proper method that we all know. So that would not work always. Right. तुक्का लगा के हमेशा काम नहीं चलता. So here the points I am going to explain if you follow. Scoring a 7 from your language, your reading test will not be a tough task. Right. The first one that you can see here, be a regular reader. The major mistake committed by students is only when the exam is near, they become serious. See, that's the case. They think that, okay, IELTS is something, which is based on a syllabus, something like that. As you know, there is no syllabus. You have to prepare your language for that. I mean, it takes time. See, let me ask you a question. You might have been a student of any English medium school, started your schooling from nursery up to +2, maybe in the same school, around 15 years. So even after having 15 years of education from a single school, that to English medium school, if your language is not up to the mark, do you expect that language to be improved up to that required level within a month? If you think so, that is not a proper thought, I would say. It takes time. So if you really want to do IELTS, maybe you want to attempt any language exam, what you need to do is, prior to that, beforehand, you have to start preparing for that. Then before attempting to any linguistic exams, it is imperative means important, to have speed, comprehension means understanding, vocab, this all, in order not to fumble in the real context. Otherwise, what happens when we go for exam, if something hard comes, we stutter, we fumble. Right. Make reading a daily habit. You can read anything. That could be a novel, that could be a story, short story, that could be a magazine, articles, anything. Regardless of the materials you read, when consistent, which means if you are consistent, there will be a drastic progress which would help you to cross the finishing line comfortably. If you are a regular reader, no doubt, look at that. Just like, okay, if you read any editorial page of newspaper, something like that, over the period of 1 to 2 months, certainly you will have the level of a minimum 7-band score. Right. This is the first point. And there comes enriching vocab. Enriching means strengthening vocab. Many an answer wouldn't be exactly as they are in the passage. Yeah, that's a problem. Many a time what they would use is the synonyms. It might not be easy for many of the candidates to follow. So what you need to do, being familiar with a lot of synonyms of common words, assist in fathoming. Fathoming means understanding the tricky sentences which otherwise wouldn't be the case. Means if you are familiar with only simple words, for example, here it is written assist. On the other hand, some of the students, those who have not the required level of language, might be using maybe help, something like that. Okay, when you are familiar with the maybe aid, assist, support, like synonyms of that, automatically you can tackle even the tough ones. And yeah, how to enrich our vocab. Look, we all read maybe IELTS reading on a regular basis. We all do. But the problem, we don't do it for enriching or enhancing our vocab. Instead, our major focus is score. If we get 25 or 30, okay, 25 or maybe anything about 23 for an academic candidate, that is 6. That we know is the minimum requirement for Canada-like countries. Each 6 must be there even for the students, those who are going to apply for a diploma. So this is not our aim. Our aim should not be a score. Instead, our aim should be understanding. Right. For that, we need vocab. And what you need to do while doing a reading, you have to pick the words which you don't understand. Doesn't mean that, okay, you have to search for the meaning of that at once. Maybe after the completion of that reading that you can try. And there comes learn to manage time. Right. See, many students who can understand language and who can find the answers also are unable to complete their reading in time. There is a problem with managing time. Awareness about the time is imperative in managing it. Okay, if you are aware about the time, you can manage it. Some questions would consume more time than others, in the same way some passages than others. Yes, some questions, for example, paragraph matching. Some statements given and from which paragraph those are taken. I would say that is the toughest type of question in terms of consumption of time, because it can take a lot of time than other types of questions. Even though 20 minutes is not hour, because time period is singular only. Even though 20 minutes is the average for each passage, a person who consumes 20 minutes for the first passage is highly unlikely to cover all the questions in time. See, you might probably know, when we were at school, our class 10, maybe a period was just 40 or 45 minutes. Why? The reason is so simple, a person's brain is fed up after focusing on a particular topic for 40 or 45 minutes at a stretch. So, one more thing, when the reading progresses, when it comes to second and third passages, generally it gets tough and tougher. Right. Okay. The ease in doing the first passage might not be there when you are in the second or third passage. So try to cover your first passage within 15 to 17 minutes. Then only you can ensure that you can complete your reading in time. How much is spent on each passage and question must always be calculated so as not to have any hiccups in the final. Means how much time is spent and should be spent on each passage, and each type of question and each question must always be calculated so as not to have, so as not means in order not to have any problems in the final. Then only you can manage your time in the final exam. Look, first passage, as I told you, if you consume maximum up to 17 minutes, for the second passage you can spend around 18 to 20 minutes, and the last passage, even if it consumes slightly more time, maybe up to 22 minutes, all will be fine. At least you will have 2 minutes to edit your answers. Maybe some answers that you might not have got. Okay, you can go for the random answers also. Fine. And there comes practice slow but understand. The aim while practicing shouldn't be the score. I think I have already mentioned. Practice slow means reading fast doesn't mean that you will get a better score. The score is a byproduct. That is to say, those who don't have any reading habit may struggle to comprehend initially. Okay, when we are not familiar with a lot of reading passages, and we are going to maybe try a IELTS reading passage, something like that, obviously, there will be difficulty in understanding initially, which would force them to take their eyes off vital information. So what is important, what is unimportant, they might not know, because they would be giving equal importance to every part of the sentence. It would be unwise to think that they could understand a paragraph fully in the first attempt unless they break the sentence. Yes, what you need to do, you need to break the sentence. Suppose, if you are a candidate in the beginning stage, okay, you can divide this way that, okay, until when it gives a meaning. For example, a sentence like that, okay, people who do IELTS, people who do IELTS, that much we can understand. How to learn grammar, that much also we can understand. What I mean to say is, when the sentence is lengthier, what you have to do is, you have to break the sentence, then it would be easy to understand. Some of the sentences, some of the complex sentences might be so lengthy. So even a well-versed reader also, it might not be that much easy to understand at once. So rather than reading over and again, what you have to do is you have to break it, then it would be easier. Even if you take more time, ensure that you get the overall meaning, if not word to word. See, even if you don't understand every word, okay, if you understand the overall meaning of the sentence, that would do. That would serve the purpose. Right. The next thing, answer every question. See, there is no negative marking. You can try your luck. Okay. If it hits, that's all fine. Don't leave anything blank, as there is no negative mark. Thus, trying your luck when the exact answer is unknown sometimes can bring positive outcomes. Yes, positive results could be there. Who knows? Anyway, it is to be done the last 2 minutes. Yes, don't do it initially. Always be optimistic, always be hopeful that you'll get the answer. Right. When you are 10% sure that, 10% means when you are 100% sure that you are running out of time. I mean, after 57 or 58 minutes, okay, you know that you can't settle your nerves. Okay, maybe you are panicked. In that case, yes, you have to do that. Don't leave anything blank. Again, there comes, don't worry about the unknown. Yes, look, when a passage is about something we don't know, automatically we are scared of that. Okay, don't worry. In real exam, many candidates panic when there is any unfamiliar passage, word, etc. Right? Maybe in a technical jargon, maybe a passage regarding space travel or something like that, which we are not familiar with. Be confident and think that this is not a test of general knowledge. Yes, your GK is not going to be tested here, but only of evaluating linguistic proficiency, which means how much capable you are to understand that, to answer that much only. This means you can have educated guesses and still get it right. Means it's not that blindly we are doing the guesswork. Okay, educated guesses you can make. Okay, the subject knowledge, if you have, yes, generally it would be okay, but doesn't mean that even if you don't have that, you can't do that. You can still. And the next point to discuss here is read the instructions carefully. Meticulously means carefully. Hurry makes worry. Many vital pieces of information can be missed unless the information is well read. For example, some answers might be required to be written in a single word. Even if your answer is correct, you have written 2 words, the answer might be book. And if you have written a book, your answer would be wrong. For example, the number of words from which paragraph the blanks are, that is also another point to be considered. See, in some cases, it is seen that maybe the blanks would be from a particular paragraph. They might be written this way that, okay, find the answers from paragraph F and G. But unfortunately, the candidate hasn't read that, might be going to the whole passage, going to read the whole passage. It would be spoiling your time. Again, turn a blind eye towards prior knowledge. Okay, having general knowledge is always beneficial, but sometimes, that can put you in trouble. Though subject knowledge is conducive generally, conducive means helpful generally, it may not always be the case, as a candidate could be judgmental about the answers owing to prior knowledge. That's a problem. Okay, having the knowledge about a particular subject, you might think that this is the case. Okay, the answer would be this one. Prejudice, which means a judgmental mind could be there. In this case, this is a problem. Since a passage can be the subjective views of the author, subjective views means personal views of the author, even the known facts could be challenged. Well established facts also could be challenged, which would prove your current knowledge incorrect. So that the things that you know about that one might be proven to be wrong. So we would get our answer wrong. So better not to have any such kind of prediction if we have any prior knowledge about that. Next point is learn to find keywords. See, we have to give more importance to question, not to the passage, because we are going to read the passage only as per the requirement of the question. Be clear about what you are teaching, sorry, not teaching, searching for. Is you should understand what is the purpose of reading. For this, you have to pick a keyword or words. Sometimes, there could be more keywords from the question. This way, you could save a lot of time too. Rather than being blunt, blunt means not on the point, be on the point. Okay, here I want to tell you one thing, that while reading a question, we may generally understand the overall question. That will not do. You have to understand the answer would be for what, why, which, when. This is the case, which means if exactly you don't pick the keyword, the answer could be wrong. You might find the location, but you may not get the exact word for that. And here another point, transfer the answers carefully. Many means many students write the answers on the question booklet in lieu of the answer sheet. In lieu of means instead of. That is a problem. See, when you do reading module, you have to transfer the answers as you get it. Please don't wait for that. In case of listening, as you know that, okay, 10 minutes is given for transferring your answers after the completion of that module. But in case of reading, this is not the case. So you can't do that. You can do, but you will be spoiling your time. Right. This can lead to two problems. Which are the two problems? First, since there is no time to transfer the answers in the reading, unlike listening, it ruins reading time. Yes, that we have already discussed. In addition to this, when done hurriedly, which means when we transfer the answers all of a sudden, the numbering could be wrong. See, for 38th answer, you might be writing the answers of the 39. That would be wrong. That would be marked as wrong. Therefore, write on the answer sheet as you find it. Don't wait for that. Again, there comes marking important words. That's an important thing. See, some of the students mark everything, underline every word of the passage. Maybe they use pencil. So that is also a wrong thing. You have to mark, you have to underline what you think is important. Even if you are seeking for other words, the proper nouns you encounter must be underlined. You may be searching for other words, but when you face any proper noun, which means name of a city, name of a person, name of an inventor, name of a company, maybe year, something like that, you have to underline that. Any years, name of a person, city, company, etc. Yes. All would be crucial as you go further. At the same time, don't mark every line, as this can be confusing. Okay, if you underline everything, it would be confusing. And see, this saves a lot of time. How? Because before reading the complete passage, what you are going to do? You are going to anyway read the questions initially. So you will understand the type of question. Okay, most probably the keywords will be proper nouns. Okay, that when we go forward, we will understand. And the next point is learn skimming and scanning. Do you know what skimming and scanning means? See, locating an answer may not be easy unless you have skimming skills. What is skimming skills? Fast reading to have an overall idea. Doesn't mean that, okay, you are word by word, sentence by sentence, read and understand. So just for getting an overall idea, you are going to read it. Which means it is done, or it must be done in maximum 2 to 3 minutes. And scanning. What is scanning? Thorough reading. Thorough reading means deep, in-depth reading to pick the correct words. Which means, okay, as I have told you, you have to pick the keyword, and in this case, from passage you are going to find the keyword, you have the synonym of the keyword while doing what? Scanning. The aim should be borne in mind. means aim should be kept in mind while doing it. Else means while only doing it, whether it is purported aimed. The purpose of this one is for overall understanding or specific words. While reading, you should understand what the purpose of your reading is. Whether you are searching for any particular word, you have the location. If you are searching for the location, you have to do skimming. If you are searching for any particular or specific words, you have to do scanning. Okay, another important aspect here, read question before passage. The answer is within the passage, we all know. We are reading, but for what? It means a question is more important for a candidate than a passage. It means, okay, you will be arguing like, okay, how a question would be more important than passage. The answer is so simple. You are searching for the answer of a particular question, right? There could be 3 or 4 kinds of questions in the same passage. In order not to read the passage over and again for each type of question, reading at least one question from each type would save a lot of time. Okay, for example, a passage comprises of 3 types of questions, maybe yes or no, multiple choice, or blanks. In that case, okay, maybe 5 yes or no, 4 multiple choice, and 4 blanks. Okay, if you read at a stretch all these yes or no questions, I don't think you could remember these all. Instead, what you can do, you can in order not to read it over and again for each type of question, what you need to do, pick one question each from each section and go to the passage. Instead of reading thrice, you can do it at once, right? So reading at least one question from each type would save a lot of time. Hope you understood. Sorry, instead of but for what? Oh, sorry, that should not be there. Okay. The next point we are moving to is try various reading ways. In this case, reading skills of every person vary. I mean, okay, some can understand very fast, some can understand even complex sentences also without reading twice. But some of the students, they don't have that much skill of reading. Okay, their speed also might not be up to the mark. For them, what they need to do, there are multiple ways to read and find the answers depending on the speed and capabilities of the reader. Speed and reading skills vary. While some read the whole passage and answer, others read for the particular needs. Okay, this is a controversial one. Some of the students I have seen, they could complete the whole 3 passages even in half an hour, maybe well before that also. They might not consume even 10 minutes for each passage, not only for reading and for understanding. And what they do, they read the whole passage and they answer. It might not be possible for an average student. Okay, what you are comfortable with, only you know. Is what sort of reading is suitable for you, that only you know. Okay, if you have any problem with timing, don't read the whole passage. Okay, maybe when you do practice, not just before exam, maybe at least a month or 2 before exam, yes, you can do that. Try out various methods and see which one works out better. Thus, it must be a pure choice of yours. Okay, you have to decide with which of the method you are comfortable with. And the next point, practice each type of question. The type of questions easy for one may not be for others. Look at that. Okay, I can easily find the answers of yes or no. Doesn't mean that I can easily find the answers of multiple choice. And in case of you, it could be vice versa. It could be opposite. Analytical skills required for MCQ, multiple choice questions, would be more than blanks. See, if there are 3 or 4 options, it might not be that much easy. You might be thinking this way that, okay, even in case of listening also that happens. Sometimes we feel this way that, okay, both the answers are matching. It might not be easy to rule out the options. To make it your strength, for the means strength, much attention should be paid on each type of questions. What you have to do? You have to do particular sections. I mean, what I need to convey is, see, if you have problem with yes or no, you have to just do yes or no questions only. Then your analytical skill regarding that one would improve. Your reasoning capacity would be there, that you can simply enhance. And if it is in case of paragraph matching, blanks, multiple choice, whatever it is, you have to separately practice. The more you practice, the more you excel. Which means when you do more practice, the more benefit you get. Right. The next one, improve grammar. I know that no one likes to learn grammar because they think that okay, this is not important for IELTS. See, IELTS is a language test. For language, the basic thing is grammar. See, the problem with many of the students is they might know the rules of grammar, but they don't know how to relate the grammar that they know into their reading or other modules. Grammatical knowledge is as inevitable in reading as in writing. See, in writing, as we know, grammar is very much important. Complex sentences, okay, grammatical accuracy, these all the things. Okay, that is equally inevitable, which means unavoidable. In case of reading too, why? To have clarity about blanks like questions, especially for blanks. Look at that. Okay, for example, the sentence goes like this: there is a dash problem. Okay, there is a dash problem. See, we can easily do the guesswork. The problem is noun, as we know. So there should be an adjective. Which sort of problem? A tough problem, easy problem. Okay, whatever it is, there should be an adjective only. That guess, it's not a wild guess, it's an educated guess. That will be there only if you have knowledge about, only if you have thorough knowledge about parts of speech and tenses. Knowledge about parts of speech and tenses, sorry, here it should be helps, not help. Why? Here the subject is not parts of speech and tenses. Here the subject is knowledge only. Helps you in better prediction and to identify subject and main verb. See, to understand the keyword also, it will be easier. Right. So minimum, the basic things like parts of speech, tenses, conditionals, these all should be covered well before the starting of your IELTS. Next is, be accustomed to hard passages. Sometimes when you do the reading at home or maybe at an institution, what happens is they may provide you the easy materials. In that case, there is a problem. What is the problem? When you go for exam, there could be a tough readings also. Okay, don't worry. For that, what you have to do, attempting tough passages instills confidence. That improves your confidence to tackle any reading irrespective of the size and hardness. Sometimes the vocab could be tough, sometimes the passage could be tough, sometimes the passage could be lengthier also. Okay, irrespective of that, means without considering, without regarding that, you can do that only if you are familiar with the accustomed means familiarize. If you are familiar with the various types of reading. Thus, academic articles, magazines, these all the things must be tried intermittently. If not on a regular basis, you have to. And if you have the reading habit of newspaper, something like that, it would obviously do the job. I mean, especially, I think once I mentioned that the editorial page articles, if you read, automatically your skills in reading would improve. And the next point is, prioritize the passage. Yes, even though the passages are first, second, third, the first one might contain 13 or 14 questions and second one up to 27, 26 or 27, the last one up to 40, it goes in this order also. Doesn't mean that you have to find the answer in that order. See, if the first passage contains paragraph matching, as I have already mentioned, the most time consuming question in this case is that what you have to do? You have to do that passage later. Might not be easy to digest what I am saying, I know, because we have fixed the things this way. Don't worry. Okay, how you want to utilize the available 1 hour is purely up to you. You are going to decide how you want to utilize that 1 hour. Nevertheless, which means anyway, however, some type of questions may consume more time. It is important to prioritize the things so as not to be in the danger zone. In order not to be in danger, what do you have to do? You have to plan it beforehand. When you get the question booklet, you have to see the types of questions and which passage to be done initially. That you have to decide. As I told you, the first passage contains the type of questions which might appear tough for you. I would say this way, that leave it. Okay, come back later. For instance, match the following like questions, even if appear in the first passage, must be done later to avoid timing problem. If you really want to manage your time and if you have timing problem, you have to do that. Okay, do the second passage first, third passage first. Whatever the easier one, you have to do. Otherwise, the problem for this kind of questions, matching the paragraph, you have to read the whole passage because you don't know in which paragraph the answer is. And sometimes, over and again, you have to read that passage too. And sometimes in the same paragraph, there could be 2 or 3 answers. Sometimes there might not be answers also. Okay, an average candidate, I have seen consuming around 25 to 30 minutes for the passage containing such a kind of questions. Right, so what you can do the easier one first and make sure that, okay, you get minimum your requirement. Otherwise, the problem, if you consume 30 minutes for that passage and by the time you complete your second passage, 50-55 minutes would be over. And even if the last passage is easier, you might not have any time for doing that. You might be running out of time. Right. And the next point, do a passage completely. What I mean to say is, some of the candidates, okay, for example, for some, maybe yes or no would be easier. What they will do? They will do those yes or no questions only and they will move to the second passage thinking that rest of the questions in the first passage could be attempted later. It's okay, they can attempt. The real problem lies there is, okay, even if they have time to come back, they might not remember the passage, they might not remember the location. It would be a sheer wastage of time. Not half, but full. Once you have started doing a passage, don't leave it halfway. Yes, maybe a passage generally comprises of 13 to 14 questions. Okay, doing 7 or 8 or maybe 9 or 10. That will not do. For example, those facing toughness in finding MCQs may go to the next passage in the middle thinking that they can come back later. Even though they may have time, what you have read might have gone into oblivion. Means what you have earlier read, you might not remember. Going into oblivion means out of memory. So it's always better to complete if you have started doing a particular passage. Okay, if there is a particular question, you don't get the answer. That is all fine. Maximum 2 questions. You don't know the location. Okay, even after searching for that multiple times, you don't get it. You don't want to spoil your reading. You want to do the next passage. That is all fine. But don't leave more than 1 or 2 questions. It will spoil your reading. And the next point, don't panic, be optimistic. What does it mean? Be realistic. Although our target is 40 out of 40, we don't want to commit any mistake there, as we know. Our requirements are much less than that. Okay, now I don't think anyone has a requirement of 9 band. Okay, maybe our wish is the same, but our requirement is not. Hence, therefore, not getting an answer shouldn't bother you. Okay, even if you don't get the answer, don't panic. Be calm. Avoid spending too much on any question. Okay, you are searching for a particular question, you read once and you don't get it, and again you read, you don't get it. Okay, don't do that. See, when 60 minutes is divided for 40 questions, you have an average 1.5 minutes. 1.5 here means 1.5 only, which means 1 minute 30 seconds. this is more than adequate. This is more than sufficient. You can simply find the answer within that time. Exam conditions, topic, or unfamiliar words shouldn't have any bearing on your performance. These things should not affect you. Look, we know that when we go for the exam for the first time, there is a panicky situation that we know, because everything is unfamiliar, everything is strange. Okay, new area. You might take some time to settle. Be calm, be composed. Means envisaging that prior, means envisaging means imagining the situation well before you go for the exam. That will do. Like, okay, this would be the hall, like this many people would be sitting there and invigilators would be there. Okay, then only if you imagine the situation, you can comfort yourself. They always try to press the panic button. Look, invigilators, they would inform you like this. Okay, you are left with the 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, suppose you are in the last passage, you are left with the 10 questions, and even if suppose if you are informed this way that okay, you have only 10 minutes, look, automatically you are scared. Oh, I have 10 questions, I don't have time to do those perfectly. Okay, I would go for random guess. The random guess would not work. Okay, as I told you, we would opt for the random method only after 58 minutes. Don't worry, be a regular doers. Okay, if you do reading on a regular basis, we know almost how much time is left. Means, okay, by the completion of a particular passage, we would understand, if not exactly, almost the time that how much is over. As there is a biological clock in every human. Means when you do it regularly, it's just like getting up early in the morning. Okay, if you set a alarm at 5 o'clock in the morning regularly for a month, automatically without having that, you would get up at 5 o'clock, which means there is a biological clock. This is a case in this case also. Be always positive. Ready to go? Good luck.